Hello, everyone. Welcome to GNU according to CD, that is Government of National Unity. So it looks like since the Government of National Unity, we are beginning to see things, especially stuff that are quite scary and one always wondered about. Like, okay, we know that Nigerians in South Africa, this is what they do. Okay, this in this video, Nigerians kind of like take a break for a second, even though they are involved one way or the other in some part of this video. So when we talk about the trafficking, maybe not just trafficking, the manufacturing as well as trafficking of the D word that ends with a G, and you wonder because there are famous countries on earth that manufacture and also created cartels, very, very dangerous cartels. And in the past few months, we have heard of kidnappings, and one wonders if these kidnappings have anything to do with the D word that ends with a G, manufacturing or trafficking, or maybe somebody reporting it, whatever the case might be. And then, of course, around July or so, there was a report that two Mexicans were caught and arrested in Limpopo. Now, the question I ask myself, are they the only two Mexicans that are in South Africa pushing the D word that ends with a G? I don't think so. Because apparently around 2018, 2019, there was this trafficker of the D word that ends with a G from Brazil that was living in Johannesburg. He only got arrested because he left he left the country and went to Mozambique, and that's where he got arrested and sent back to Brazil, where he's now spending 45 years in prison. And the question I ask myself, South Africa is known to have one of the best intelligence in the world. How come our intelligence did not pick up on this guy? Or because you know how Colombians, Brazilians, as well as Mexicans that do this D word that ends with a G, they always first, before they can plant themselves and insert themselves in a country, they weaken the law system, the criminal justice system. They also go and corrupt politicians, including the president of a country. I even saw somewhere somebody ask a question about Pala Pala, that where did that money come from? And then you're seeing and you are listening to these reports, and Daily Maverick just did an awesome report on this trafficking of the word that ends with a G, that how they favor the port of Durban as well as the Richards Bay port to bring in these D word that ends with a G into South Africa. Now we are hearing many arrests that are going on, which I'm very happy about because clearly the GNU is working, and those that are working in the GNU, they want a clean country that is free from the D word that ends with a G, as well as law and order. So, anyways, I don't know, guys. I feel like we are sitting on a ticking time bomb anyway. Sooner or later, there was going to be terror fights where now gangsterism was going to be the order of the day in South Africa, with a government that was going to be crippled by these individuals because the politicians themselves would have been in the pockets of these D word ending with a G traffickers and pushers, manufacturers, and stuff like that. Should they even think of turning on them, of course, you know how it all ends. It always ends with them being deleted. So now the question is, how many more do we have here in South Africa? If you're watching this video and the traffic between South Africa, Mexico, South Africa, Colombia, South Africa, Australia, South Africa, and other South American countries, I think there's far more than meets the eye. And I'm glad that somebody is doing something, they're investigating, and once again, they will reveal whatever it is that's going to be revealed. And I hope that it gets eradicated from our society, which is already in shambles because of Nigerian D word ending with a G. They really ravaged our communities in our townships, rural areas, as well as in towns and cities. And hopefully, the intelligence are on top of this, and the reason why all these coilings are happening is because the intelligence is working on this. But there's still questions that needs to be asked. When are South African politicians going to be done in lifestyle audits so that we can see who are the people that were selling the country to these traffickers as well as manufacturers of the D word ending with a G? Honestly speaking, because it is quite scary if you think about it, especially when Colombians are involved. You must know a war is also emanating out of that, because sooner or later they were going to remove the Nigerians from being the suppliers. If Nigerians are what you call this, or what you call this, manufacturers, they were also going to be removed. And next thing, our streets are overtaken by Mexicans, Colombians, Brazilians, and all these dangerous cartels from South America. And I don't know, guys. Our country is under attack one way or the other. And it's important that in our communities we have a Kolani Kumalo, because Kolani Kumalo, you know what he does with Soktola. I think now he has a new show that he is going to be doing, of course, doing the same thing that he was doing on Moja Love, pointing out the D word ending with a G, traffickers and manufacturers. And of course, the question is also, how many chemists are there in South Africa? How many chemists are there in South Africa? Who are they supplying to as well? Because it's a lot that's going on. It looks like South Africa is a country where it seems to be a strategic position either for Pan-Africanists who are trying to really destroy us, or now these the word that ends with a G, also like the inverted commas, the capital city or some sort, or the port of departure for these so-called for these products to other parts of the world. It is so scary, guys, if you think about it. But just be vigilant. Teach your children that the D word with ends with a G is not a good thing. Remember back in the 90s how they used to teach us this thing, and it was a whole campaign. And many of us who grew up in the early 90s to not to date, we never want to touch that thing simply because of the education that we received back then. There were campaigns everywhere. And I think those campaigns need to come back to push back on anybody that's thinking of coming to South Africa and doing this nonsense. Honestly speaking, so we got to protect our country, and I hope that the intelligence are on top of this, because they have been sitting on the sleeping on the job. There's no way that we had a Brazilian D word that ends with a G, biggest pusher in Brazil, living in South Africa for 2 years. And the only time he gets arrested is not in South Africa, but in Mozambique. Something wasn't right there. Something definitely wasn't right. And we need to find that politician that got the intelligence to keep quiet about this. Who are those politicians? Very important that we find them, because when we find them, that's the end of this situation, I think. I could be naive about this, but I'm just thinking that once we find those politicians through lifestyle audits, then we'll be able to tell who are the people that have sold South Africa to the dogs. Anyways, guys, please do not leave this video without liking, sharing, commenting. And when you do, consider subscribing. Also, click the bell notification so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you for watching the ads, and thank you for watching. Keep vigilant, guys. Teach your children that the D word that ends with a G, it is dangerous. Goodbye.
Several countries have been connected to South Africa in terms of drug trafficking. Mexico, Colombia. There are thriving drug trafficking ties between South Africa and Brazil. Another major drug trafficking conduit from South Africa leads to Australia. Traffickers tend to prefer the port of Durban when it comes to South Africa.
I'm a journalist based in Cape Town, South Africa. I focus on mainly crime, corruption, politics and gangsterism. And I focus on this noxious network and try and unravel it.
We've seen several drug busts and several arrests happening over the past few weeks. On the 19th of July 2024, police raided a farm in Groblersdal, which is in Limpopo. They said on this farm they found a clandestine drug laboratory chemicals, equipment, etc., and crystal meth with a total value of 2 billion rand. That's a lot. They arrested 5 suspects, and 3 of those suspects are from Mexico. So while we're not quite sure what that means yet, as this is a developing court case, it does imply that there are links to Mexico. And as we know, Mexico is a country that has a, I want to say, horrific drug trade, given the violence associated with it. A few weeks ago, we reported here at Daily Maverick that the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, was sentenced to 45 years in jail in the US.
For over a decade, Hernandez abused his positions in the Honduran government, including as president, to partner with and take millions of dollars of bribes from some of the world's most notorious drug traffickers. Hernandez and his co-conspirators helped push 500,000 kilograms of cocaine into the United States. That's 500 tons of cocaine.
In his trial, the US government provided a photograph, or what they claim is a photograph. What that photograph shows is Juan Orlando Hernandez posing with other men, and it appears these men are cocaine traffickers. Here's the key thing. This picture or photograph was allegedly taken at the 2010 FIFA Soccer World Cup, which was held in South Africa. Juan Orlando Hernandez appears to be of the impression, or he has alleged, that this isn't necessarily an authentic photograph. These traffickers he was photographed with, or in his case, if the photograph isn't real, he's purported to be photographed with, are cocaine traffickers who are alleged to have had ties to none other than El Chapo, the head of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel.
Hernandez is alleged to have received millions of dollars from multiple drug trafficking organizations, including from the former leader of the Sinaloa cartel, known as El Chapo.
It means the former head of state was in South Africa with cocaine traffickers linked to one of the world's greatest cocaine traffickers, who is now apparently sitting in jail. There are thriving drug trafficking ties between South Africa and Brazil. There have been several drug interceptions, most notably of cocaine, in both countries. On the 19th of July 2024, a man was intercepted as he arrived at OR Tambo International Airport. Police searched him and they alleged that they found a band of cocaine around him. This man was from Brazil, and it suggests that he is, or he allegedly is, a drug mule. But that's not where it ends. Cocaine trafficking between South Africa and Brazil are not just limited to the sky or the air, as we know. We know that shipments of cocaine have landed here. Traffickers tend to prefer the port of Durban when it comes to South Africa, and there have been several interceptions there. On the 24th of June 2024, police in Paranagua, I'm not quite sure if I've pronounced that correctly, my apologies if I haven't, but that's in Brazil, they found a stash of cocaine hidden inside a container. So what happened was the traffickers broke open the container and they hid 2 suitcases inside it. Inside the suitcases were bricks of cocaine. According to Brazil's authorities, some of that cocaine was destined for South Africa. Here's the interesting thing. Daily Maverick spotted this. Before, interceptions in Brazil have shown cocaine packaged in boxes showing owls. This is blue packaging with an owl's face on it. And some of the cocaine that was intercepted in Paranagua, again apologies, also depicts those owls, which suggests or implies that it could be the same grouping trying to push cocaine from Brazil into South Africa. Another major drug trafficking conduit from South Africa leads to Australia and vice versa. So on the 8th of July, a section of a case concluded in Australia, and that case gives us another idea of how traffickers or dealers are smuggling between the 2 countries. In that specific case, a man tried to appeal his conviction. Those court documents show that in 2019, April and May 2019, 2 packages were posted from Cape Town to Australia. Both those packages were x-rayed, and cocaine was found in the second package. The man was convicted, he was sentenced to jail, he tried appealing, he hasn't managed to overturn his conviction. But this is just another example of how cocaine is being smuggled. In this case, it's the post. We've reported on other incidents where cocaine has been flown over to Australia in the cargo hold of a passenger plane. There's been another quite a bizarre incident of cocaine being stuffed into an excavator that was shipped over to Australia.
It's the largest cocaine seizure ever coordinated by police in the ACT. 380 kilograms of the drug, equating to around 1.9 million street deals to the tune of $144 million. The drugs were intercepted at a Port Botany cargo facility hidden inside the boom arm of an excavator vehicle sent from South Africa bound for Bungendore just outside of Canberra.
So from the outside it didn't look like it'd been tampered with at all, so very professionally done.
While researching the conduit between South Africa and Australia as a journalist at Daily Maverick, I've picked up that motorcycle clubs or outlaw motorcycle clubs in Australia are likely linked to some of the cocaine ending up in South Africa and vice versa. There have also been some suspicions, and in one case, a confiscation that ties South Africa to the world's cocaine-producing capital, Colombia. In April